Leadership is transformational at its best. It's right. So it's not always about being the smartest in the room. It's knowing how to use the pieces in the room to achieve the bigger
Right. To
purpose,
play to the
to
strengths
play
of
the
the team.
strengths, right? So a person who, is opening their shirt and say, I'm the leader, I'm the leader. No, you're not. You're the person who talks the loudest. But the leader is the person who can galvanize all of the strengths, work through all of the weaknesses to accomplish a strategic planning goal. That's the person who can help to marry all of those things together.
Welcome to Daily Power Boost. Ignite your potential, the podcast where your transformation begins. I'm Sean Michael, and each day I'll bring you quick, impactful insights and action steps to fuel your personal and professional growth. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader, or someone ready to break limits and ignite greatness, this is your daily power boost to crush obstacles, stay focused, and awaken the extraordinary potential within you. Because remember, greatness begins within. Let's go. Hey, boosters, welcome back to Daily Power Boost. I'm Sean Michael, and I'm happy to welcome Orville Brissett here. I hope I said that right, Orville.
You did, Sean. You did.
And I didn't get an intro, so I'll let you introduce yourself, Orville.
Well, hello, boosters. As was stated, my name is Orville Brissett. I am a keynote speaker, consultant. I specialize in providing support to help leaders turn complexity into clarity and leadership into legacy. I specialize in individuals, leaders in different contexts to tap into that resilience part of you so that you can take the lid off of your potential in your organization or in life.
Very good. Great to have you, Orville.
Great to be here, Sean. Thanks for having me.
So, in your bio, as you just said, it says speaker, pastorist, futurist, transformation strategist. How did this all come together in your career?
So this, Sean, is I guess I would say, a melting pot of experiences over 28 years, having served in the military, having served now for almost 20 years as a pastor, having taught in undergrad, having sat on numerous boards. I developed and acquired over time a lot of leadership skills that operate cross functionally in different places. And so I really felt this passion, this urge to put it all together because I had this burden that I had something that was of value, that had something to add to the corporate, the faith based, the leadership space in general. And so I grabbed his knowledge gained, education, of course, having gone to school, grabbed all those pieces together to construct what you see in the bio today.
What would you say are some early ministerial experiences that shaped your view on leadership?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. That's a great question. So I started pastoring um, two small churches in southeast Louisiana, way down. It was right after Katrina, and a lot of the people were displaced. Hearts were broken, lives had been changed and shattered. And I was just coming out of the military. It's my first pastoral assignment. And I'm 28, 29, and I'm thinking that I'm going to Louisiana to turn the world upside down and make this huge difference. Got down there and realized that not every leadership principle from the military refers to pastoring church. So I went in with a transactional mindset in, instead of going in with a relational mindset. So I went
Mm-hmm.
in thinking that everything was going to go my way based on position, when the reality is you had to create buy-in. You had to forge relationships. You had to be there in the intimate moments of their life. You had to be there just to listen to their feelings about Katrina and what it took from them.
Mm-hmm.
So the earlier lessons I learned was you your greatest leadership component, especially when you're in transition, is listening. Listening is your greatest leadership component. It will help open the door to the other things that are your strengths and your weaknesses, right? Because when you're in a place that's not familiar to you, the context will tell you who you are and who you are not a lot better than you can.
Definitely. And what prompted pursuing the MBA?
So
Obviously, you
it's
were doing that while pastoring.
yeah. So I've always had um, a knack, an interest, a passion for business. Um, my father studied to be an accountant, and so I've always kind of had this knack for business. But while I was getting ready to start my doctorate, as a matter of fact, 10 years ago, I was getting ready to start my doctorate. And um, I learned a few sources. One of them was my wife. Stressing the importance of getting the MBA would help to strengthen my leadership capacity and it would broaden my worldview. It would
Mm-hmm.
expand my my skills, my gifts, even more so, and that it would be helpful. And so I was talking to a mentor of mine, and I was weighing. He's like, the doctorate will always be there. The MBA is just a year and a half. Knock it out, get it out the way. Nobody can take it from you. So I went and got the MBA, and it was the greatest academic experience of my life. I went to St. Leo University. I was in class with people from other parts of the world who had different worldviews about business, who understood the socioeconomic landscape differently, the geoeconomic landscape differently.
Mm-hmm.
We worked together as groups on projects during my MBA journey. And so I got to learn a lot about how another part of the world sees marketing, how they view finance, how they view information systems, how they view human resources, right? So it was the greatest eye opening phase of my academic journey. Now, don't get me wrong, I love doing my doctorate. I've been in it a little while. I need to finish, but doing my MBA was the greatest. Yeah, it stretched me. It stretched me further than I knew I could stretch.
Very good. And
Yeah.
what was the moment you realized futurology and spiritual counsel could actually amplify each other?
Wow. So I believe that um, we have to continuously look forward, that the wheels of society are turning so quick that if you're not
Definitely.
constantly thinking about what's next, you'll be considered you'll be considered what was last. So I've always been into this. How can what's jumping out 4 or 5 years ahead? What's jumping out 2 or 3 years ahead? When the pandemic happened, um, I think some people thought time was going to stand still. And but actually what's happening is time was moving rather rapidly. Initiatives, inventions, ways of doing government and business and schooling, all of this was happening in rapid succession. The way that the military operated, the way we used artificial intelligence. To be totally honest, artificial intelligence before the way we knew it now had always really been around. It's been refined, it's been updated, um, it continues to evolve. And so I've always been looking at this thing from a what's coming next, what's happening next in economics, government, corporate, military, but also what's happening next as it relates to viewing it from a spiritual lens. So the Bible, of course, gives much counsel and prophetic wisdom as it relates to
Mm-hmm.
days that are to come. In particular, Matthew chapter 24, where Jesus talks about in the last days, people will be lovers of themselves, haughty minded, given to self interest, wars, rumors of wars, pestilences, famines, earthquakes in diverse places, all of this, and so much more. And then the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, is filled with prophecy that have a lot of different meanings. And so, how do you balance it against the futurist in secular society versus a spiritual lens? And I found it to be a dynamic intersection where you use the spiritual lens to interpret the secular, but you use the secular to help to magnify the spiritual, to get the message out there. So, yeah, it's kind of where I've been. It's just on that little journey in that little space there.
Yeah, it definitely, as you talked about, the change, how quickly change is happening, even though people might not think it's changing. I know in my lifetime, it just seems to get faster and faster. It's like a flywheel. The faster it goes, the faster it gets. And
Absolutely.
and as you said, AI, although it's top of mind for everybody right now because everybody's got access to it, but I agree. I was just talking with my wife about this. It's not like there was a lot going on with it before it was open to the public, right?
Right,
It's
right.
not like they woke up one day and said, "Hey, here's AI, have fun."
So before like touchscreen computers and tablets and all of that were really a thing, I remember in the military using smart boards to do training, learning how to. Smart boards were a type of artificial intelligence. Of course, the speed of it was much slower back then.
Right.
I was joking with a buddy of mine just a few weeks ago. We were reminiscing about when we were in the military, and we used to be able to use Nextel phones right off of the naval station because we could get the walkie-talkie and we could talk to people, up to a certain distance, up to a certain range off of land. And
Right.
so, come a long way from the walkie-talkie to where we are now with cell phones, right?
Right.
You've got global access to internet and to telephone, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also as you were speaking, keeping an eye on the future, I connected it back to military, right? Because in the
Hmm.
military, because I'm ex-military as well,
Oh, great.
as a soldier, sailor, marine, we're taught to always watch the horizon, right? Because you don't know what's coming over the horizon. So be alert, be aware. So I think that also definitely applies, as you said, in life and leadership and spirituality and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I as I am as I am continuing to study and continuing to research and continuing to challenge myself, there are like basic principles, Sean, that are ever present, common denominators, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing about life in this futurist lane is that with so many new inventions, so many new things coming at you, the temptation is to try them all, do them all, right? Get your hands in every little
Mm-hmm.
thing here and there. Become a jack of all trades, master of none. So that my mom used to say that all the time. And I've been really seeking to be efficient while while navigating, managing this futurist strategic leadership journey. Be
Mm-hmm.
efficient, right? Like use what works, what has the best practice, what has the best result for me, right?
Right. And as you said, put the time in to master something.
The time and to master something, right? My youngest, both of my sons are gamers to a certain degree. I mean, they're not on it all day, but they love games. So my youngest son in particular, he's figured out all these kind of cheat codes through YouTube and other resources with these games, and so he's mastering these games. He spends a lot of time with the Madden and the 2K stuff. I mean, he's got it. Like he's totally. So we were at a friend's house, and a friend was talking a lot of trash, saying he could beat him, and my son just quietly went upstairs and just went on his game. Friend came back down mad. He said, "Man, he just because that's what he does. He figures that stuff out." And the truth is, the other thing is, if you're trying to take on too much, like trying to have your hands in every little thing that's coming down, man, you're gonna get burned out. You're gonna get
Fast.
burned out. You're gonna get overloaded and overwhelmed, and you're not gonna focus on your why. You're going to have your attention split in so many different directions. And that was a hard lesson that I had to learn even on the pastoral journey. Like there were just you can't do everything. You can't be at the top of the hill on everything,
Right.
right? You got to make space at the table for others who do other things well, and learn how to embrace the strengths of others, use the strength of others while using yours. Yeah, it's that whole playing well in the sandbox motif that they used to use when we were smaller.
Right. Well, it's almost like, I always believe and I've heard, a good leader knows his or her strengths,
Mm.
uses them, and like you said, brings people into the team to help and lets them utilize their strengths.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a point that I'm not as good as I thought I was, as I'd like to be in that skill, or maybe it's just something like that's not even in my wheelhouse, right? That's smart leadership. Or
And
when I
and
when I was in
yeah.
college, we had to give a sermon on ketchup. That was our topic. They said,
Wow.
ketchup, go any way you want, ketchup.
Wow.
And
Wow.
the way I approached it was ketchup it's simple, right? It's like vinegar and tomato and sugar. I
Hmm.
mean, a simple ketchup recipe is 3 ingredients. You get it right, you've got something nice.
Right.
You get it wrong, you put too much sugar and it's horrible. And
Ooh.
in an organization or a congregation, if everything's at the right level, things go well.
Can go well.
You start to shift, you got a leader that's too ego driven, maybe. I can do it, I'm the leader. Then that's when problems come. Would you agree?
I no, I definitely agree. So, and I'm saying this with all humility, and I'm not the only person. I think multiple people experience this. So, multiple leaders have multiple strengths, right? They do a few things well. Mm. And the context really drives which one of those strengths is needed. So, the type of leadership that I will tap into on, say, for example, a Habitat for Humanity board is not the same type of leadership I'm tapping into when I'm managing cross-functional teams for ministry mission, right? So
Definitely.
Daniel Goldman talks about this in his book Strategic Leadership. He uses the metaphor of the golf bag, and he says leadership is like a bag of golf clubs, and where you are on the course determines what club you use. And I think one of the challenges that often presents itself is that leaders who aren't secure in themselves, who don't have healthy emotional intelligence and healthy emotional awareness, they try to use drivers where putters are necessary.
I was thinking the same thing. I
You
was
think of the
thinking,
same thing?
like I'm thinking this is
Yeah.
the person who plays a driver. And actually, to be honest, I had that movie Happy Gilmore come into mind,
Oh man.
where
Wow.
he just bashed the ball. It didn't
Bash the
matter
ball.
where he was. He just
Yeah.
smashed that ball.
Yeah, it's leadership is transformational at its best. It's right. So it's not always about being the smartest in the room. It's knowing how to use the pieces in the room to achieve the bigger
Right. To
purpose,
play to the strengths
play
of
to the
the team.
strengths, right? So a person who, is opening their shirt and say, I'm the leader, I'm the leader. No, you're not. You're the person who talks the loudest. But the leader is the person who can galvanize all of the strengths, work through all of the weaknesses to accomplish a strategic planning goal. That's the person who can help to marry all of those things together. And sometimes it's not the person who holds the position of leader, it's the person on the team who knows how to work well with others, right? Who
Right.
knows how to say the
And to build
quiet
that
things,
synergy.
build that synergy. Exactly, exactly. And so it could be the most educated person at the table or the least educated person at the table. It could be the oldest person at the table or the youngest person at the table. I think for so long, we've kind of associated the ability to lead with age and with education. And while those things are necessary, as a matter of fact, I would totally subscribe to somebody to say that if you want to strengthen your leadership, educate yourself.
Get
Get
some
some
education, definitely.
education, right? However you do that, whether it's formal schooling, reading books, every leader needs a mentor. Every leader needs a mentor.
Right.
Every
Yeah.
single
Whether
leader.
it's one you can
What
actually call up and talk to, or a virtual mentor.
or
You
a
know,
virtual mentor.
I consider John Maxwell like a virtual mentor to me, because that
Yeah.
man is, and of course he's got education, he's got years of experience, he's got the age thing,
Hmm.
but I just have a lot of respect for John, because you know he's been doing it and he teaches, real leadership, not
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
manufactured, I have a title, I'm the CEO or whatever.
Right. And Sean, some of the some of the most transformational CEOs that I've worked with, um, if if you didn't see their name attached to CEO, you wouldn't even know they were CEO.
Right. If you hadn't seen their nameplate,
If you
right?
hadn't seen their name, you wouldn't even know they were CEO. Um, they're so human, so down to earth. Um, when we talk about mentors, so that mentors help you to grow, right? So I'm always fond of sharing with people who are, you know, trying to rise as leaders that, small context, small responsibilities, don't laugh at those. Don't consider those a waste of your time. You need those small spaces where you can refine some skills so that you don't embarrass yourself in large spaces. A mentor not only celebrates you when you're doing right, but you give them the freedom to correct you when you need to grow in some areas, right? You need to
Right.
listen to
To
somebody
challenge
who's
you a little bit.
challenge you, who's been you've been down the road before, and they're kind of helping you to say, you might want to look at that a little bit differently. And I can't tell you how many times my career has been saved because of a mentor. And I still have them today. I have three particular mentors who have free access to say whatever they want to say to me about whatever it is. We have that transparent conversation, and they are more than free to correct me because I don't want to get to a place where I believe that my way and my thinking is the only thing that's best. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I would actually say, when someone challenges our way of thinking, or our actions, that's actually where we can grow the most.
absolutely. So positions don't change people; they expose who you've always been.
Yeah. Good way to say it. That's a sound bite. All
Yeah.
right. On that topic, so someone who leads both congregations and corporate audiences, how do you bridge spiritual values, and measurable business outcome.
That's great. So there's a lot of synergy when we think about wise business principles, right? And the spiritual side of it. So, for example, when I'm talking to a group, a team that is preparing for what could be happening, looking at a forecast for the
Mm-hmm.
future, I'll use the um, seemingly insignificant metaphor of the ant. The ant's a very small, insignificant creature. You really don't notice them till they start biting you, right? Or they get into your house, they get into your stuff. That's when you notice them. But you don't get up every morning and think about ants. But
Right.
ants teach us some very important lessons about the future. So first of all, ants are industrious. They don't need anybody to tell them that it's time to go to work. They have a sense of purpose every single day. Ants are innovative. You see an ant dragging something, and you may see a few of them dragging something. It's because the ants realize that they get more done with teamwork than individuality, right?
Yeah.
And then ants understand what's coming. Ants have this keen sense of what's coming, and so they take that food, they get down in that hole, and they're storing for the future, so that when there is some drought, when there is some um some weather dynamic that they're not able to be out, they have invested to have resources
Right.
for the future.
They've
And
prepared.
they prepare for the future. And so I use those biblical principles, we're respectful of context. We don't always use the Bible chapter and verse, but we use the metaphor to be able to paint the picture clearly of what will help a leader or a team to maximize, to turn the complexity into clarity. We talk about in conflict resolution on a team. Right? Don't go to multiple sources. Go straight to the source. Right? Go straight
No.
to the source. Get their side. eh, Listen to the words, the timing, and the tone and temperature. Listen to all of that. Right? To see if you get a clear understanding on where the person is coming from. I tell leaders all the
Absolutely.
time, be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. And really all I'm saying, I'm repeating James 1:19 and 20.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just using the principles, right? You hear
Right.
businesses talking about making cutbacks to grow into something else. That's right out of John 15 about the vine and the branches. So there are so many, and John Maxwell has done an amazing job at um at showing the synergy in the Maxwell
Mm-hmm.
Leadership Bible. Did an amazing job. One of the best leadership resources ever written was the Maxwell Leadership Bible. He did a phenomenal job. But you take those leadership principles and you transfer them. The goal is not to be offensive. I certainly don't shy away I have a faith walk. I'm a
Right.
Christian.
Yeah.
I certainly don't
Yeah. You
shy
don't
away from
have to
that.
deny your
You don't have to
faith,
deny it, right? But I don't
but you
also
also don't put it up in their face.
don't put it up in their face, right? You can't win them if you offend them.
Right.
So and of course for me, um, it'll speak volumes in my living more than what I say. So, you know,
Right.
there's certain things that I
Well,
don't
and
do.
and right there is a principle. Like you said, you can't win them if you offend them.
Yeah,
You know, in business, if you offend your clients, your prospects, you're not going to win them.
not gonna win them.
If you offend your employees long enough, they're gone.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. So there are so many ways to to make them intersect and then be transferable, and that that moves right along the line, Sean, of how we communicate, right, across teams and across. That's another area where leaders are, wrestle with on a day-to-day basis. How do you communicate? Because you don't communicate to everybody the same. And so it's finding that space. But absolutely, there are so many openings, so many opportunities to marry the spiritual and the secular,
Well,
right?
and
There's
it's
so
a
many
perfect
opportunities.
illustration. I've been reading Frogs into Princes, which is about neurolinguistic programming. And one of the things they say is the best communicators are the flexible ones,
Flexible ones.
right?
Yeah.
You gauge the situation, you adapt your communication style for the situation appropriately.
Hmm.
If you're communicating and you're not getting the desired outcome, you change the communication,
Ah, yeah. 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 Um,
right? Instead of just like da, 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 do what I say, do what I say,
do
do
what
what
I
I
said.
say,
Right,
and
right,
it's like
right,
it's not working.
right. So what you just described, Sean, was um it's got cultural, it's got context relevancy. So
Right.
because you know what's the response to authoritarian dictatorship? Stop. What's we kind of see the responses across the world. Global. We see global
Mm-hmm.
responses when a leader is more representative oriented, transformational, democratic. We see the responses there. Um, you know, we think about the places in history where leaders were very forceful in their language and speech, and
Mm-hmm.
how that instilled fear in some areas, but it also birthed resistance in other. So right, so it's knowing the room that you've got to communicate to, right?
Right.
I think leadership also is at its best when you assess the room properly. Right?
Yeah.
You gotta know
Read the
who's in the
room.
room. You gotta read the room. You gotta read the room, Sean. You gotta read the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether it's 1 or 100, you got to read the room.
Gotta read the room. Absolutely. I was reading this book, and I can't remember if the title is The Agile Leader or Leadership Agility. I can't remember it right now. But anyway, the leader was just talking about the same thing, being flexible even when you don't want to, even when you don't want to, being flexible because it'll get you more mileage. You'll get further down the road. Um, so a lot of leaders who are not self aware, who are not continuously reading and growing and educating, they're more like brake lights than they are headlights. So they're
Yeah.
reactive. They're reactive instead. So they react to what's happening instead of lighting the way for what could be, right? So, um, um, but it's an opportunity, spaces like this, um, and it's all the boosters out there. It's an opportunity really you know, to shine the light of healthy leadership forward, in a few ways, right? In communication, conflict resolution, and innovation, creativity, all of those. I think this is great.
Yeah.
These are great spaces that are existing now to kind of help leaders have the resource to continue to grow and evolve.
Well, and I've done some episodes on this where all of us are a leader in some way.
Yeah.
We just don't call it that,
Mm-hmm.
right? You and I are fathers,
Mm-hmm.
husbands.
Mm-hmm.
There's some leadership there,
There's a whole
admit it
lot
or
of
not,
leadership there, right? Teacher,
right?
teacher in a
Teacher.
classroom,
Yeah.
even the student who is student body president or class, this
Right.
class,
It's
that's leadership.
everywhere if we just
It's
look.
everywhere. It's everywhere. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And my wife and I have coached people, that are talking about they have an ineffective leader. We'll just say it that way. A leader that's
Mm,
not doing a great job.
mm,
They have a title, but they're not leading. And we both teach lead up,
Yeah.
right? You know, if you can have the leader that you need, the mentor, that's the best. But you can't always have that.
Wow.
So you can sit and complain about it
Mm.
and be stuck, or take the initiative and lead up
Well,
in
Sean, I
any
think,
situation.
yeah, I think too for leaders, um, what I've noticed here lately is that with so much competition and so much drive to stay relevant, man, leaders are leading from from an empty cup. A lot of leaders are leading from empty cup.
Mm-hmm.
Their self-care routine is non-existent or little in some cases. And so you can't lead when you're almost empty, right? Your organization, your church, your team, they need your wife, your children. They need the whole you and not just, the fumes of you. And so
Yeah.
every leader has to put in their portfolio this conviction of self-care. It's a part, and you are also leading by example this whole self-care dynamic. At some point you got to unplug and you got to reset, right? At
Yeah.
some time, and when leaders continue to go and go and go and go and go and do and do and do and do, you're going to literally burn out, and you're going to start making mistakes in your leadership. So instead of being
Right. And
transformational,
you're going to shift the culture
you
that,
go,
oh, just run until you run on empty.
yep.
Like that's what he did. I'm going to copy it. Yeah,
So
I did a
yeah.
speech earlier. It was on mental health day. Like
Mm,
there was one day where, everybody recognizes mental health, especially in the workplace.
hmm.
And I was talking about this exact thing. If you want good mental health in the workplace, you got to model it, you know, take the breaks you need, take the
Yeah,
time off, admit your mistakes, own your mistakes,
yeah, yeah,
don't.
yeah.
And recently I got to go to a master class with Lee Cockrell.
Oh
He was
wow,
the executive VP of Disney Parks.
wow.
And in a nutshell, his concept was don't lead from the cat. Like if you think of like the king, they were always up on that parapet or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or even the Pope, right? He's always up high looking down on.
Mm-hmm.
Lee was down there in the
Down in the
audience,
trenches. Yeah,
down there
down in the
talking to,
trenches.
like,
Yep.
he would talk to the person taking the tickets at the gate to the janitor cleaning the bathrooms. It didn't matter. He was talking to people, finding out the pulse of what was going on
Yeah.
in the organization.
So I do believe that um we have these amazing um leaders who are emerging, especially, we get down to the end of the school year and their students. Matter of fact, I just did today's show on students and how these emerging leaders can tap in and can nurture the different aspects during close of the school year in the summer. But we have these amazing leaders coming out of college. High school, we're seeing more entrepreneurs in high school than I think we've ever
Mm-hmm.
seen in any 10-year period, because the internet allows people to have drop ship, faceless YouTube channels, you name it. People are entrepreneurs, but just using the innovation for businesses of any type. Um, I think this is a great opportunity for emerging leaders to, for lack of a better phrase, get it right on the front end, right? With all of the resources out there, to get it
Right.
right on the front end. I don't, you know, I try to teach my kids. My oldest is 28. I try to, give him some pointers so that he doesn't make the same mistakes I make. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And my daughter said one time, maybe we have to learn the mistakes the hard way. And I'm like, yeah, but the consequences are different than what they were 20 years ago for me. And so, but even in the military, you know, careless mistakes can cost lives. Um, when you're running a multi-million, in some case, billion-dollar company, careless mistakes can cause irreparable harm.
Right.
And so I think this is a great opportunity with all the resources that emerging leaders can really not only get it right, so to speak, but
Hmm.
also help to create a new paradigm of what leadership might look like. I
Exactly.
mean, yeah, I mean this is it's really going to take a interesting shape, I think, over the next 4 to 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you have a multi-part series on daily bread, prayers, prayer breakfast. Yes. Do I
Yes.
have that correct?
Yes.
It's very unique in the business sphere. Where did the inspiration come from, and what transformations have you seen?
So, where did the inspiration come from? So, in short, I I've had this burden for a while that my voice had value in the marketplace. And so I just wanted to reach out to a larger audience. That's it. I just wanted to reach out, didn't know what was going to happen. I just wanted people to be inspired, basically, what that is. And so that's really what it came from. Just wanting more people to be inspired. That's it. That's just wanting people to tackle the day with some motivation. A lot of people are polarized by a lot of things that they deal with.
Hmm.
Now the economy is closing its fist around us, and things are getting more expensive. I don't know how it is where you are, but
Oh yeah, we're feeling it
you're
here too.
feeling it. Yeah. So 5 items the other day cost me like $53. And people are on edge, and I just wanted to provide some inspiration, some encouragement to get them through the day, maybe get them through the week. You know, that was all it was. That's all it was. Yeah.
I hear you. That's a lot of what inspired me to launch Monday Mind Shift.
Mm,
So that a lot of people in the world dread Mondays, right? It's
mm,
like, it's Monday. And my vision was, if we can just create a positive environment, shift our mindset even just a little to start the week, then we can set the ground for a better week. It's not going
yeah.
to be perfect.
Absolutely. And I just did a short uh, on maximizing the weekend, talking about how, as leaders, what you need to spend the weekend doing in order to be prepared for Monday. I literally just put it out on Spotify on Friday to kind of help leaders really think about what you're doing with the weekend. Are you going to continue
Right.
to keep your hands on the 9 to 5 plow, or are you actually going to take it off and really, look at the challenges from the past week and just kind of, reassess how you're going to handle those
Yeah.
challenges should they arise the next week. Yeah.
Right. Well, and I would even say rest, review, reassess.
Wow. There it is. There it is.
That just downloaded
There,
right
there,
there.
there, there it is. I mean, so you got to be willing. Here is something that leaders cannot avoid. You got to be willing to do what nobody else is doing, right? Um, you got to be willing to nurture yourself, right? You got to be willing to sacrifice you for the bigger picture. You got to be willing to listen when you probably don't want to listen. The leader has a lot on their shoulders, and so no human can take the weight of all of the people they manage, all the people they lead. They've got to take time out. They got to take time
Right.
out to get it to, just to breathe, to exhale, to what'd you say? Would you say what would
I
the
said
three R's you
rest,
said?
review,
Rest, review,
reassess.
and reassess. Yeah, they got to do that. They got to do that. Yeah, yeah. Because
And that was really prominent because I was talking about it this past Monday.
hmm
I actually suggested schedule a slot in your calendar somewhere that's 100% unproductive.
yeah,
And just this past weekend, my son, we homeschool him,
hmm
and in his one of his lessons book, it was on volcanoes. And part of the lesson was to build a volcano
hmm
with the whole baking soda vinegar. And he saw that, he's like, oh, I don't want to do this today. I want to do this with my friend when he comes over on Sunday. So his friend came over who's near his age. So it was the
hmm
two dads, the two sons, and then his friend's little sister. And they all got to help build the volcano and put the everything in because it was, you know, baking soda, vinegar, dish soap, and some food coloring. So you got this really cool effect. And that was so joyful. And then I've seen some posts, like somebody shared a post on LinkedIn today or over the weekend. They went out and did karaoke with their friends,
yeah,
laughing and being silly.
yeah, yeah. I would offer for the people who are able, and it's not everybody, so you gotta make your decision appropriately. Man, travel if you can. If you can. It doesn't have to be expensive. Just sometimes you just need a change of scenery.
It could be
It could, yeah,
just the next town
just the
over.
next town over. Sometimes you need a change of scenery to help you reimagine what's complex, right? You'll
Right.
see things. One of the things I love to do, I love to people watch. Now they don't know I'm watching them, which is a partly a military skill, but I like to people watch. And so I go to places and I just people watch and I gain so much insight. I get so much education just by watching people move throughout their day and routines and tasks. And it really
Right.
gives me
Education and building your awareness
building
muscle.
awareness. Right, right. So, um, I mean, one of the things I talked about Friday was um, getting to this moment where actually my nutritionist actually said something that sparked it in me. So for the boosters listening out there, shameless plug. I'm down 38 pounds. So this is a totally different me. I'm down 38 pounds. One of the things that my nutritionist told me was when I'm eating was to not have the TV on, not have the phone, because you will subconsciously eat more than you really need to. You'll be full and still
It's
feeding your because you
it,
can't you
it's
can't
such a simple
multitask.
thing. It's
Yeah,
such a
it's
simple
such a
thing.
simple thing, Sean.
But
Like so, yeah, I was recognizing that I was full before the plate was finished because I wasn't multitasking and multitasking. I have a friend who says it's not possible. It's not possible. It's not possible. And so there are contexts in which I agree to disagree. But her point is, it never serves the purpose well to be
it's it
multitasking.
it's it's not possible. What we're doing is you're task switching,
Task switching. Right. Right.
right? And interestingly, we were talking about how technology and everything is changing everything so quickly. I got my first computer in 1986
Hmm.
when most people didn't even have a computer.
Mm.
I was privileged. My friend had wealthy parents. They got him a newer computer, so he gave me his old one. It's a computer I never would have had if not for the connection I had.
Wow.
The processor was 1.5 megahertz and it
1.5.
had 5 KB of RAM.
1986. Man, Sean, I'm embarrassed to say how old I was. But that's 1986. Wow.
Was a junior in high school, sophomore, junior year that year.
Wow. It was the
Anyway,
fourth.
so now I use a computer that's about 10 years old and it's like 2 point something gigahertz.
Mm-hmm.
And the latest Apple chip in the newest iPhones
Mm-hmm.
is blazingly fast. In fact, they said it's faster than most laptops available in the phone.
Wow.
But here's the mind blower. So, we've seen this speed of processors go up and memory go up and
Mm-hmm.
storage space go up. Our brains operate at 30 hertz.
Wow. 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 We've managed we've managed to create chips that get faster, but our brain only. Wow, you said a lot. Wow, wow, wow. Gave me content for a couple of episodes down the line too. But but yeah, man, amazing, amazing,
Yeah, but like
amazing.
as we were saying, that rest, taking a rest, taking a
Mm-hmm.
step away, even if it's like you said, turn off all the stuff while you eat.
Yeah,
No phone, no, like we have that rule. My son hates it, but we have a no tech at the dinner table.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he's he's Gen A. He was my wife's holding him as a baby. He's like 9 months old,
Mm-hmm.
and he's swiped it. I'm like, how did he know that? Like, he just picked
That's
it up. He
my
saw it.
granddaughter. My granddaughter is the same thing. My daughter moved, and I gave her one of my iPads, and that thing is attached to her. I mean, you can't get away from that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's like my bike was to us. When I was a
Yeah.
kid, our bike was our lifeline, right?
Yeah.
I'm going for a bike ride. Okay. Be back before dark.
Yeah. So I would term um that need to rest. That's like your energy stewardship, right? Like
Mhm.
you got to be a steward of your energy. You got to know when to refill. When I started driving, I got my first car, my parents were adamant that you filled up at half a tank, filled up at half a tank, fill up at half a tank. And in the same way, a leader needs to be careful not to play with your fuel below half a tank. Like you need to
Right.
always be seeking to keep it full, topped off. Continue to ask questions, seek guidance, read books, go to go to summits, conferences where you can just hear some different perspective. Um,
Well, and as often in work and in leadership, you're spending all your energy is going out, out,
out,
out.
out, out. Yeah,
What's the thing that fills you?
yeah.
Like you said, could be reading, going to a conference,
Mm-hmm.
spending an afternoon watching a favorite movie
Yeah,
or a movie you
yeah.
wanted to see. Or, I like to start my day first thing in the morning. I've got, some meditative music and I just kind of listen to my meditative music or listen to the birds,
Yeah.
maybe go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not scrolling my phone or on the computer. I've just got, start my day with, it doesn't take much time.
It doesn't take no.
And in my career, a lot of times I found when I was trying to solve a problem, right? When you're locked on and you're like trying to work this out and it's just not working. Everything you try is not working. What I learned is when I took a step away,
Yeah,
like this walk away,
yeah,
go get a coffee, go chat with somebody, something, just step away from that.
yeah.
Every time I went back in and boom, problem solved.
And so that's part of preparation for the day, right? So my most productive days are the days when I'm getting up at like 5:30 or 6, which is normal for me. So I'm an early riser by nature. So it's like an internal alarm clock. Boom, I'm up. I get up 5:36. I come downstairs. It's quiet. It's me with my headphones in, listening to some music that's helping me to kind of order and plan my day, get things rolling. And when you do that, you're even keel for the day. You're not rushing. Your anxiety level is not elevated. You are not. You are not. It's not as easy to take things personal when there is disagreement. And I gotta say this. If you just let me just throw this in right quick, like leaders, don't be afraid of conflict in your organizations, your teams. It's not a bad thing. It really opens the door to show you where you need to grow, right? So conflict's not a bad thing, but you can handle it. You can. That's what you have to manage well. Is how you handle it. And so I find that my most productive days are the ones where I prepared beforehand. When I've gotten up early and done all the emails, or I've taken care of all of the administrative tasks. I can solely focus on being present for the questions, for the
Absolutely.
dialogue. I found those to be the most productive days. But then I've also found that the most productive self care is, like you said, getting away from the devices, right? And for me, I have to turn it in at night a little earlier. I use a CPAP. I have sleep apnea, and so I need to grab those 8 hours. I gotta grab them. That's a must for me. So my body to be at complete rest. And however that looks. If I got an early flight, I'm gonna go to bed a little bit earlier. If I got something going on, I gotta travel. But I gotta get those
Right.
hours
Again,
in.
that's just
That's that
flexibility,
flexibility.
understanding the rhythms,
Yep.
like I can go later today because,
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
weekend, for example,
That's the
but I got
weekend.
an early flight. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's like flying a plane, right? They don't just dial in where they're going. They're constantly adjusting that plane as it goes from point A to point B.
Absolutely.
And it's
Absolutely.
and it's micro adjustments. If we live our life like that, make the micro adjustments as we see them, be aware. And I think, like you said, starting right,
Yeah.
resetting, resting, some people say grounding,
Yeah.
right? Kind of building a foundation so that you
Yeah.
you are in your optimum state
Mm-hmm.
to handle the conflict. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that, like, conflict is not something to avoid. I spent most of my life just, like, I was so conflict avoidant. I was like, I don't know, I've just got a picture of the Roadrunner, how he would be right there and see the coyote and go "Bleh, bleh," when he was gone. That was me with conflict. When conflict rose up, I
Wow.
was like, I'm out.
Wow. Wow. So
But
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sean.
actually, it was a marriage book I read, and it
Mm.
talked about a lot of relationships. And I think this, they always say marriage is a great training ground for business
Mm-hmm.
and work. Often the communication stays in the shallow end,
Mm.
right? Level one, level two, because you get to level two and you hit the wall of conflict,
Mm-hmm.
and most people retreat,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, ooh, out, nope, don't like how that's uncomfortable. I'm going back over there. But the secret is there's a door
Mm.
in that wall. You just have to find it.
Right.
And
Right.
then
Right.
you can get into the deeper levels where we really start to connect.
Yeah. So when 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 conflict arises, and there are people who are passive aggressive or totally
Mm-hmm.
passive, then there are some who are extremely assertive and aggressive and probably a little combative. So that's not the healthy. But it's to remember that you're going to get a lot further dealing with the issue as opposed to the personality. All right. So it's not me versus you. It's
Absolutely.
us versus the issue, and how can we reconcile the issue so that we can accomplish the bigger goal, right? And that's the principle of conflict resolution that I think is overlooked, because it's this one up. I got to one up. I got to prove to you I'm right. I got to prove to you you're wrong, as opposed to how do we get success in the business. I think
Right. How
sports
do we
teams
move
go through
forward?
it. Sports teams go through it, and so they teams break up. Businesses, it happens. Partners, and they split,
Churches.
and churches. Oh my goodness, right? So it happens. It happens. Yeah, it happens. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. There, you make a very valid point. If we approach conflict as, it's not me versus him. And that's a marriage principle too that I know. It's not you versus your spouse. It's you and your spouse versus the issue, or versus the outside trouble. The in-laws, for example. Whatever.
That's a whole nother podcast. A whole we talk about leadership and another, yeah, whole another podcast. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Orville, this has been great.
I appreciate it. It's
I
been
really
great too.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
What's next on your horizon? Any books, platforms, retreat,
So
publications?
actually, my son is graduating from high school, and then headed out on vacation for about a week, and gotta finish my doctoral dissertation this summer. But in the meantime, I am creating blogs, um, with the intent of doing an ebook. I'm gonna do an ebook by the end of the summer. Yeah, I'm gonna do an ebook end of the summer.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got two ideas in my head for a book. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go because I'm actually working on a very cutting edge leadership development idea. Like
I'm looking
something
forward to it.
that's like people have touched on it, and there's a lot of little pieces that are like out, like asteroids floating around. And my
Hmm.
idea is to congeal it all with the support, like you said, because a lot of them are like one-offs, go through this course and on your way, good
Yeah.
luck, you learned it, move on. So I'm looking at more of a container that kind of like YC Combinator, these business incubators that actually like guide you along the way and get you flying, and then when you're ready you can fly on.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because as you said, we've got some powerful leaders coming up, and let's lead them well. Let's get them on their best foot forward instead of
Yeah. I've got
going through
some.
the loop again.
Exactly. So I'm Gen X, right? And I actually consider myself to be technologically moderate. Like I feel like I'm somewhere, I'm coming along with that thing. Like I'm not a tech guru, but I'm not a dinosaur. But on my team, I've got millennials and Gen Zs who are helping me to be more efficient tech wise, so that I can get the most mileage out of what I'm doing. Right. So you gotta be mindful that it's never about having all the answers. It's about knowing where to get the
Right. Well, and
answers. Right.
that's I was just thinking, practice. That's practicing what you preach.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, they
Sorry for the pun.
no, but they give me critique. Like I put something on LinkedIn the other day, and one of my staff members was like, "Oh, it gave real estate vibes. It was a carousel." They were like, "Oh, it gave real estate vibes," and I was like, "Real estate?" They were like, "Here, real estate, real estate." No, it's leadership. They were like, "No, it looked real estate." I said, "Okay, note to self: we're not ever doing that again." They said, They said, "Can we get a softer profile picture than the one that's out there?" And so they just start grabbing. So listen, critiques are opportunities for growth, right? I mean, you know, um, and so I am excited by what the future is going to look like with the creative imagination of the generations coming behind us, building on top of the foundation that those who walked before us built, because we wouldn't have what we have if it wasn't for them and the
Right.
sacrifices and the labor and all of the conversations and compromises that were made. So,
Right.
you
Well,
know, got,
and you said we're Gen X,
yeah,
and we're getting to be the top of the pie, as far as the generations, because the last of the boomers are, there may still be some, but basically they're out of the workforce in large part.
yeah.
Mm.
But what's
So
interesting,
we're
Sean,
at the
is
helm.
but what's interesting, Sean, is that many of them, boomers, are either staying or coming back because the economy has forced them
Because
that
the
way,
situation, yeah.
right?
Well,
So for them to
the
come back,
economy, yeah, and mistakes made,
so for them to
you
come
know,
back to a workforce that's not the way they left it, that's going to be traumatizing for them. And
yeah.
how does the younger generation meet the mental health needs of because we got to be careful about ageism. So how do you manage the mental health of your team when you have a returning boomer coming back to the workforce? Yeah, it's
Right.
it's
Well, and
it's
I just did an episode called The Generational Cat, or The
ah
Generational Clash, why leading Gen Z can be like herding cats.
wow, wow.
And it
A-
talked about like how different their driving force, their point is from previous generations.
Absolutely, absolutely. It will be an amazing journey that I'm looking forward to. Looking forward to not only leading but learning. I know
Yeah.
that's where I am, and that's what kind of
Good leaders are always
fuels me.
learning.
That's what fuels me every day is the people that ask, the people that I coach, the people that I consult, but then being able to be in spaces where, man, I'm learning so much. I sat on the board for Habitat for Humanity. It was such a rewarding experience to watch them put together and execute a strategic plan in the space of 45 minutes. It was amazing. Amazing. I enjoyed every meeting and I learned how to be an efficient administrator, right? By sitting on that board. It taught me way more than I brought to it. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what's the best way to find you?
Best way to find me is on LinkedIn, Orville Brissett, or on Instagram, OSB Coaching. You can also find us on Facebook, OSB Coaching and Consulting. Yep, that's where you can find us. Yep,
And I
yep,
will
yep, yep.
definitely be sharing all those links in the show notes, as
Appreciate
well
that.
as
Appreciate
some of the
that.
gems. I use an AI tool that picks out all the gems. For,
I don't listen. I
save some time instead
save
of
some
me
time.
having to go back and watch and catch them all.
I hear
I
you.
I can have AI grab a bunch and say, "Yep, yep, no."
Okay, that's see. I just got something from you because I use StreamYard for now. And
Hmm.
StreamYard does break it up and allow you to create reels and clips. Um, but I also just try to sometimes keep it unfiltered. Like I just let it be as transparent in the moment. It's rough sometimes. People like authenticity, so I'm just exploring what works best, and that's
Everybody, thank you for joining us. As I said, all the contact information for Orville's in the show notes. Keep listening, keep learning, keep growing, and remember, greatness begins within. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Daily Power Boost. Ignite your potential. Remember, transformation starts with action. So take today's insight, make it your own, and awaken your inner potential. Because remember, greatness begins within. Catch you tomorrow for your next Power Boost.